Ever find yourself snapping, lecturing, or just going through the motions, wishing you could connect with your child, but maybe you feel miles apart? What if the key to turning things around isn't just another strategy, but simple, playful moments? In today's episode, we're talking about how play, you heard me right, play, is the secret weapon for connection, calm, and even cooperation. And trust me, this one's going to surprise you a bit. You'll want to tune in to hear as my guest spills the tea on connection through play. So let's jump in. Welcome to Calm Connection Parenting, where we buckle up for the emotional roller coaster of raising intense and highly sensitive kids and discover some amazing things along the way. I'm your host, Jamie Kirkbride, a mom of 7, parenting coach, professional counselor, and your guide through the wild world of meltdowns, challenging behaviors, and big emotions. If you're exhausted and overwhelmed, feeling like you're always one step away from chaos, searching for a little calm in your day, then you're in the right place. Here, you'll find practical tools and faith-based strategies to transform your family. Together, we'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll figure out how to turn those messy meltdowns into moments of connection. Let's jump in. What would you say if I told you that those challenging behaviors don't need more correction, they need more connection? And what if I told you that just 30 minutes of intentional play a week could radically shift the way that you and your child relate? In today's episode, we're uncovering why play is actually more than fun. It's maybe even a lifeline. Our special guest today joins us with real insight, some practical steps, and a whole lot of hope for tired, stretched thin parents who just want to feel close to their kids again. Let's welcome Deborah Woods, professional counselor and advocate of play. Thanks for being with us, Deborah. Can you tell us a little bit about you and maybe what you do?
Oh, yes. I have been a professional counselor for 40 years, for a long time.
Ah,
I've been doing play therapy with children for about that long, 40 years. I raised a child who was a brilliant little boy who had all kinds of challenges and just really pushed me to find the tools that I needed to be able to meet him where he was at. And it turned out that the play therapy I was doing in the office turned out to be just exactly what he needed at home from me as a mom.
isn't that interesting? And I just love when we speak with people who have dealt with this in their own homes, in their own families. Sometimes we seek help from professionals who've never dealt with this in their homes, and it can be so different than when it's within the walls of your own family. And so I'm so glad that you can identify with so many parents that we have here today. Let's start with this. Why is play so much more than just fun for kids? What does it actually do for the parent-child relationship?
Well, when you look at how children make sense of their world and you look at and understand brain development, it takes the human brain 25 to 27 years to fully develop, and the brain develops from the back to the front. And so what that means is that the emotion center of the brain is developed long before impulse control, before cognitive thinking, planning, the ability to understand the things that we're teaching them about how to cope with their emotions is not something that lands for them. Um, I've had kids come in and as young as a 3-year-old can recite for me what he's been taught that he's supposed to do when he gets angry. He can tell you step 1, step 2, step 3. But because of the gap in brain development, he can't actually do it.
Yeah.
However, what he can do is he can play about his emotions. And so if you watch kids play and you don't attempt to tell them how to play or what to do, if you don't try to control it, if you just let it unfold on its own, kids play about how they see themselves, how they see the world, and the things that are on their mind. And so what happens is play becomes a wonderful way for them to communicate, to problem solve,
Mhm.
unconscious motivations, all of that stuff comes up when they're playing. And so it's a rich way of reaching deep into their experience to help them understand things that you can't sit them down and talk to them about it and get anywhere.
Oh, I so agree with that. In fact, Deborah, I've known you for a long time, and there was this one incident in my life where I feel like I kind of channeled what would Deborah do moment. And I have to tell you, it was so powerful because I think we do forget what child-led play can really teach us. And just like you said, there's things they couldn't say or explain or articulate that they will
Mhm.
through play. And our youngest
Yeah.
child was facing a skull surgery. And it was a pretty big deal. He was turning 5 the same week that he had this skull surgery. And as a parent, I was thinking, how do you even prepare a child for skull surgery? I mean, it was going to be an incision from ear to ear, and it was going to be huge. I
Mm.
mean, the pain from it could be intense, and I didn't even know how to prepare him for it. And I didn't know what kind of fears he had. Well, we really couldn't sit down and have exactly a conversation about it. And I did, even as a counselor myself, feel just a little bit awkward knowing how to prepare him. So one day I just sat down and I thought, today we're just going to play. I am just going to follow his play. And my goodness, he took Buzz Lightyear through skull surgery, start to finish, and through
Yes.
his play really did talk about some of his fears, including dying. And what would people do if Buzz died? And it wasn't until we played through that whole process that he just really settled down about it and could deal with it at his level. And I just thank you, Deborah, for being a voice in my life that had instilled that importance of child led play. Because if I had let it my way that day, we would not have explored the dying aspect of that. But when I followed his lead, that is where he went. And that was what he needed to deal with emotions he couldn't even articulate.
Oh, Jamie, that's so beautiful. So many times, one of the main principles I try to teach parents when I'm teaching them how to do this kind of therapeutic play at home is that it's so important to trust that even when our kids have been through really terrible, unspeakable things that they're facing, within themselves, they have an ability to go where they need to go in their play. It may not always be as fast as we want them to, but with patience and support, their play will take them into where they need to go to be able to resolve it. And time again, I've heard so many parents tell me stories just like you told me about how their child went right where they needed to go, not where I would have
Yeah.
taken them, but where they needed to go. That issue of, is Buzz going to die?
Yeah.
Might not have been something that you would have even known to prepare him for, but that
Yeah.
that was on his little heart and could come out in the
Yeah.
play.
I think
And
I would have avoided it because I would have thought I don't want to introduce a thought to him that he didn't
yes.
have. And I have to admit there was a part of me that even when he did bring it up thought, "Oh, we should ignore that."
Mhm.
But it was so
Yeah.
important for him that he sees that we would cry. We would
Hmm.
cry and then we would remember good things about Buzz and then we would say, we're going to get to see Buzz again some, like we just played it out and that
Hmm.
resolution came and he moved on and he wanted to play something else where, in our own adult hearts we kind of resist some of those things if it feels like it could
Yeah.
be scary. So if you were a parent watching, listening today and thinking, I don't know if I can play like this, let me just tell you, it can be so powerful when you follow your child's lead. And that's why I'm so excited to have Deborah here with us today. Deborah, so many people talk about how connection is key. And I think sometimes as parents, we're like, great, we buy into that, we believe it. But but how do we really do that? And I know play is one of those ways that we can create that connection. especially when we're dealing with a child who is emotionally intense or easily dysregulated. So, can you help us understand why does it work that way? What does it do?
Well, it's so interesting because so much of what I'm doing in the playroom with a child is what I'm not doing.
Hmm.
It's the things that I'm holding back and restraining in myself as an adult. There's so much temptation when we sit down with a kid to want to interject our own ideas, to want to suggest how to play. When a child comes in for their very first session, especially anxious kids, and I say to them, you can use most of the things in this room in most of the ways you want to. Anxious kids don't know what they're supposed to do. There's toys all over the room, but they're nervous. They don't know how to please me. What does this adult expect of me? And that initial, I'm supposed to do it the way that you want me to do it,
Mm-hmm.
is what creates that sense of disconnection as we interject our own ideas, as we want to put our ideas out there. But when we trust the child, when we come alongside of them and we allow them to make the decisions in the play, when we're truly interested in how they're doing it and holding back our own ideas, kids get this sense of excitement because it's so different than all of the rest of their day.
Yeah.
You know, as a mom, we have an agenda. We have to go here, we have to go
Right.
there, we have to do things. As a teacher, there's things that I have to teach my kid. As a parent, I want my child to grow up to be a decent human being and I need to teach them this, that, and
Right.
all of these things in order to get to that place. In play, I trust the child. I let them make their own decisions. There's a few limits, there's
Right.
things you can't do. My face is not for hitting with the sword.
Right.
But apart from that, there's so many things that, it's play. If they want the sword to be a magic wand that turns me into a beautiful princess or an ugly frog, they
Right.
get to decide
Yeah.
that. And I really am okay with it.
Yeah.
And when we give kids that kind of freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and when we bring the sense of awe that we're interested in their ideas, that we care about their thoughts, oh man, that just
It's
opens their
empowering,
door.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's so exciting for them
That's
to
so
have that kind of attention and focus, and they feel so valued and so seen and heard
mm-hmm.
that it creates a connection
Yeah.
that is so powerful that it carries over. And this idea that you can do that 30 minutes once a week and it makes a big difference. Like they don't need us to do that all day long, every day.
Yeah.
The connection that they get out of those moments of knowing this is a special time,
Yeah.
then it just carries over and it brings that sense of feeling close to you
Yeah. Oh, that's so
that
neat. That's
melts away a lot of disagreement and conflict at other times.
yeah. Well, what does connection through play actually look like? Can you give us a picture of how that might unfold in an ordinary day with a child?
Something as simple as there are times when a child might want to pick up a sword and do a sword fight. And instead of wanting to overpower them and win the fight, I take my cues from how they're fighting. Are they hitting me with the sword in such a way that um, I can see they want to win? And so when you allow that hit from the sword to cause your sword to fall out of your hand and they feel powerful and you notice, oh, you feel so strong and powerful, that creates that sense of connection that's arises from, hey, you saw me, you noticed my feelings, you cared about me. And that's so powerful because in those little moments,
Yeah.
they remember that.
Yeah.
My son's 44 now, and he remembers a time when he was only 3 that we were out playing in the leaves and I was throwing the leaves up in the air. And he says he still remembers the joy that he saw on my face that day. I'm
Oh,
like,
that
oh,
gives me goosebumps. It makes me wish I
yeah.
could rewind and play more. You know,
Yeah.
we have 7 kids, so we still have some at home, but I wish that I could go back and do some of this again. You know, just realizing how empowering this connection can really be in a relationship with your child. So, for emotionally intense or highly sensitive kids, play can feel chaotic at times. So, how can parents lean into play in a way that actually helps soothe, not escalate those big emotions?
That's interesting because the way that you frame the question is um, kind of um, like typical of a
I
misunderstanding
knew
of
you
how
were going to
we.
say that. That's why I said it this way, because I think so many parents feel this way, and it's a very real fear. So go ahead, take it on. And I know the way I said it is going to open up a big door.
Yeah. And so the idea that we need to somehow get kids to calm down,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times the allowing of the big emotions, the when they come into the playroom with me and they just punch and kick and hit that bop bag. Some kids need to spend the whole 45 minutes they're in there just whacking that thing away. And just being able to have a place where they feel free
Mm-hmm.
to express all of those angry feelings,
Yeah,
all of that. Sometimes it's about anger, sometimes it's about feeling powerful, sometimes it's about defeating the bad guy.
yeah,
Um, the really cool thing that I was taught in my training is it doesn't matter if I understand exactly what's going on, it's
mm-hmm.
that I'm present and
Yeah,
allowing it in a way that respects that it has meaning and purpose for them.
mm-hmm.
And the things that they're doing in that play is working something powerful for them, whether I understand exactly what it is or not.
Yeah,
I'm there to provide some containment and some safety.
mm-hmm.
There's some ways that kids will pick up my bop bag and slam it on the ground that, that's gonna like damage the bottom of it and cause it to
Yeah,
break out. And so I have some, you can't pick up the broom with the hard stick and whack it in such a way that it's gonna, break we have to respect the toys to some degree, but there's so much that they can do where they get just wild and crazy with it
yeah,
that they're actually working out emotions in a powerful way. And in the process, as they play out, sometimes they need to play these things out over and over and over.
mm-hmm.
Eventually you see a shift. And in that shift, they've come to understand something about themselves. They'll try out solutions that they didn't have at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so
Kind of
as
a
I just trust
resolution,
them,
right?
uh-huh,
Yeah,
as I trust them and go on that journey with them, these things will pop up.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
so important. I like how you say that. And I'm glad I could kind of bait you into that question because I think that is a fear of so many parents, that we don't want to get them too upset. We don't want to feed the anger. When the truth is sometimes by listening to the anger, by responding and letting them deal with anger and us maybe becoming more comfortable with that, it does resolve and it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be something that just lingers or flares or
Right.
erupts, but it can become more manageable. Oh man, we have so many more things we're going to continue to talk about. In fact, when we get back, we're going to talk about what about the parent who struggles to play. But first, I would like to share this. Are your child's emotions and challenging behaviors pushing you to the edge? You're not alone. From constant struggles to emotional outbursts, it's easy to feel like you're just one step away from chaos. But what if I told you there's a better way? In the Calm Connection program, you'll get access to a video course workbooks, and a supportive community to learn practical, faith-based strategies for handling even the toughest of behaviors. But the best part, you get weekly coaching calls with me, where we can explore your child or family's specific struggles and work together for some solutions. If you're tired of trying methods that just don't work, or you feel like you don't have time to add one more thing to your plate, don't worry. This program was designed to fit into a busy parent's life and give you real solutions with some quick wins too. Ready to take the first step toward a calmer home? Visit calmconnectionparent.com and learn more about the Calm Connection coaching program. You've got this, and I'm here to support you. All right, let's talk to the parent who feels awkward or unsure when it comes to play. What would you say to them if they feel like they're just not naturally playful?
That's the thing I love about the way that I play with kids is that it, if we understand that we are there as a resource to respond with caring and to support them in opening up. It's their responsibility to do the playing. It's their responsibility to figure out the story and decide how to play. It's our responsibility to create that sense of containment, to set the limits, to say, we have 10 minutes, we're going to be able to play however you want to play within these 10 minutes. But after 10 minutes, we're going to have to go do something else, like providing the materials that you're going to be playing with, to provide the space that you're going to be playing in, to provide the emotional support within that time. You don't have to become a kid and be playful. That's the child's role in the play. They get to figure out how to play. You get to still be an adult and be supportive. And it's interesting because kids will, I use what's called a stage whisper. They serve me tea and I might say, is it yummy or yucky? They
I
might
like
say,
that. Yeah.
I want you, you're going to be my daughter. What kind of a daughter am I?
That's great. No,
So,
I mean, those are little things that I think are so helpful because sometimes as parents, we don't know, what does it look like? How does it sound? What's the dialogue? What kinds of play do you recommend for building connection that don't require a big imagination or tons of time or even the Pinterest perfect setup?
well, I usually when I'm training parents how to do this myself, I give a whole um, set of tempting toys, different kinds of ideas, and exactly how to provide this kind of facilitative play. But right off the top, I'd say you're looking for things that don't require a great deal of adult intervention. You're looking for play materials that are things that you have to use your imagination in order to be able to do something with them. Um, and it's going to vary depending upon kids and their age. With really little ones, you're going to put out things like play food is cooking, toy dishes, sets, things like that. I always you find me in the toy store making sure something doesn't break or it's not too hard. If I get hit with a toy sword, I want to make sure that
That's
there's no
right.
part of that toy sword that I'm going to get hurt by. Um,
What about school age kids? What would you do for them?
Where school age kids, it's a little more challenging these days. We're in a culture where school age kids start thinking that they're too old to play, they're too mature, and so getting into boys, especially around 8 and 9, tend to be more oriented towards sports, and so just having a basketball hoop with a little Nerf basketball or a some kind of a little soccer ball that you can kick around in the house that doesn't do any damage. Um, Sometimes just a hammer and nails. Kids love to just kind of whack on that hammer and that nail to get that nail in there. And you might not think about hammering a nail as being playful, but it's something that within give a kid a hammer and nails and let them do whatever they want to, and it becomes
Yeah,
playful.
that's right. That's right. Is there a sweet spot for how often or how long we should be playing with our kids to really build that trust or that bond?
Well, the research on when there's a way of teaching kids how parents how to be with their kids and play. And the model that I teach is 30 minutes once a week. But you don't even have to do that 30 minutes once a week. There's a set of skills that I'm teaching you, specific things, how to notice their feelings, what to say to set limits, how to set those limits. There's a whole specialized program that's been researched over the last 50 years. But just to get started, simple things like playing follow the leader, just spending 5 minutes having a dance party, doing it exactly, moving the way they want you to move, letting them tell you how to move. Follow your kids' interest, notice what they like to do, and then do what they want to do
Yeah,
for 5 minutes.
yeah. What if it's gaming? Does playing with them on their gaming devices accomplish the same thing? Because I know sometimes, especially in those older ages, that's kind of what they want to do. Does that equate?
It's interesting because there's the problem with video games is that they're adult led. There's a scripted way of playing and using those things. And in following that and doing that with your child, there's so much more of a limited connection that can happen. But even taking the time to sit with your child as they're playing and noticing what they're doing and asking them about the characters in their story. Now, I would suggest probably not interfering with what they're doing at the time, but maybe finding another time and asking them about their characters and what do you like about your game and that kind of thing can be connecting. Um, the video games often like they work so fast and they move so fast
Yeah.
that if you're even sitting next to them and asking them questions, it can
You
feel
just might
intrusive.
trigger them, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
it's
a
a
good
little
point.
trickier. Yeah.
What?
But if you're taking 5 to 10 minutes to get outside of that and providing something else
Yeah.
where you can have a little more of their attention,
Yeah. No,
hopefully
that's
works.
good. That's good. What are some common mistakes or maybe misconceptions that parents have about playing with their kids?
I think probably the most common misconception that I see is not understanding that the thing that the child is doing in play has meaning for them. It can seem like when a kid's playing, oh, they're just playing. It's doesn't mean anything. They're just goofing off. Well, in reality, everything that they choose to do and play is some has some purpose. Behavior isn't ever purposeless. Even if they're just playing jump rope and trying to figure out how to jump rope and keep it going over and over, they're working on mastering their body. They're working on mastering, can I master and control the way that I'm controlling the rope, controlling my jump, controlling my breathing. There's a lot of different things that they're working on trying to develop that sense of confidence, that sense of just mastery and control over their world by can I master and control this?
Yeah.
And so there's usually some emotional theme, some purpose in what they're playing, whether it's sometimes a child might just be playing, making, cooking, and serving me food just because they're hungry.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nurturing. They're caring for me. And sometimes they're giving me poison because, oh, I'm going to ask you. I had a little girls group once, and they said they served me some kind of food, and then they said, Miss Deborah, you just ate poison. Now, quick, what's your most important life message you want us to know before you die? And I'm like, oh, that is a
Oh
really
my.
brilliant way. to force me into a situation where I have to tell them what's the most important thing I want them to know.
Yeah. Oh, how interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
It
So,
that's neat. Go ahead.
so there's usually some sort of meaning and purpose behind their play, whether we know and understand what it is or
Yeah.
not. It's important to them.
Oh, I love that. And it can be tricky, especially as we're dealing with, boys that are school age, even some girls as they get older. It can be hard because you can get this message that they don't really want to play. So you
Mhm.
sometimes have to come up with these creative ways that you can engage them in play. One of my favorites is, how about if you create, some sort of obstacle course that you want us to do, and then they get to create it. You know, um, let's go to the kitchen, and would you like to make any kind of thing you want? Like, you don't even have to follow a recipe. It can be a dessert, it can be a drink, it can be, whatever you want. And then I have to try it. Now it has to be safe, but then I have to taste test it. Even small ways that just kind of get them started can become more playful once you start the train on the track. So even if you feel a little resistance, stick with it, because sometimes what unfolds just past that resistance can be something really fun. And they may say, well, I don't really want to do this, but how about if we do X instead? And then
Mhm.
that's where you can follow the child led ideas. And so don't be afraid if you try, parents, and you're like, no, it just didn't work. Like, they just don't want to play. My child just isn't interested. They will be. It might just take some creativity to get them started. All right, for
Well,
parents.
it's interesting because in reality, sometimes these days, sometimes our kids really don't know how to play,
Yeah,
and they'll start playing by imitating a video game or they'll imitate a movie. And over time, they'll get more comfortable with playing. And so that sense of today that they're supposed to be mature, they're not supposed to
right.
play. Sometimes just giving them isolated time and attention, they'll warm up into the play. So
Yeah.
yeah, just taking time and being patient with it and allowing it to unfold over time.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great reminder. I really like that. Now, for parents listening today who feel maybe disconnected or discouraged, what's one small shift they could make this week to begin reconnecting through play?
I would suggest just noticing what their kids are taking time with. What are they interested in? What sparks joy in them? What are the kinds of things that they're talking about? And showing interest in that and really getting curious about what it means to them. What what about that is exciting and interesting to them? Because I think you might find that it's about something different than what you might think at first.
Yeah. Oh, very, very good. Excuse me. I know you have some wonderful resources that I would love to share with parents listening today. Do you want to tell us about the one that I think is going to really hit a nerve?
Well, I created what I call the essential translation guide. And in the translation guide, I present some ideas and some things that kids say. And then when they say this, what are they really feeling? What's the feeling behind it? So many times when we hear kids say things, it sounds like they're being disrespectful, or it sounds like they're being rude, or it sounds like they're being selfish, or they're being this or that. When in truth, they're expressing an emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just not very good at expressing that emotion in a way that's respectful. The brain hasn't developed
Yeah.
far enough to be able to think about what your reaction to "I hate you" is going to be.
Yeah.
And they're feeling so intensely at the moment. What might they be feeling? And so this translation guide helps you get a sense about what feeling might be behind the words that you're hearing.
I love that. I really thought that would strike a chord with so many parents here. I know I'm excited and I want to get that resource as well. Now, before we go, I want to personally invite you to something very special. May 13th through May 16th, we are having the Calm Connection Parenting Summit. And If today's conversation has spoken to your heart, then this event was seriously made for you. For 4 incredible days, we're bringing together 16 parenting experts, including therapists, neurodivergent specialists, coaches, psychologists, even a neuropsychologist, counselor, parent coaches, to help you move from overwhelm and tension to calm and connection. Whether you're navigating big emotions, sensory sensitivities, executive dysfunction, sibling stress, tech battles, even burnout, we've got you covered. Each session is packed full of tools, real hope, and real talk with experts who get it. Like I said, so many of them have dealt with this in their very own homes, in their very own families, with their very own child. And the best part is that this Calm Connection Parenting Summit is free to attend. So would love for you to enroll in the Calm Connection Parenting Summit, and you can do that by visiting calmconnectionparent.com/summit and grab your spot. I know you'll walk away feeling encouraged, equipped, and ready to connect with your child in a deeper and a more meaningful way. I'd love to see you there. I'm going to be right there cheering you on as you take your next steps toward calm and connection in your home. And if your child shuts down, maybe they melt down, or just can't find the words to tell you what's wrong, this episode is really for you, because when words fall short, let's be honest, they often do, play quietly steps in and it does the talking. It meets your child where they are, offers them safe connection and a way forward that doesn't require lots of words, big speeches, or perfect responses. Today, Deborah reminded us that we don't need a special degree to use play powerfully. We just really need a willing heart. Thank you for all that you shared with us today, Deborah. So many good things. What a gift it is to know that something as simple and natural as play can become the bridge between chaos and calm, distance and connection. We don't need to be entertainers or even experts, and we don't even need to get it right every time. But when we choose to be present, even just for 30 minutes a week, with a spirit of curiosity and connection, we can build a new trust with our child. A trust that can carry them through some of their toughest emotional moments. Parents, let this be your reminder. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present and maybe just a little bit playful. Sometimes the most powerful parenting shift doesn't come from doing more, but maybe just sitting on the floor and following your child's lead, letting love speak through play. Connection doesn't require perfection. It just needs your presence and a little bit of play. Well, that's it for today. But the journey to calm parenting doesn't stop here. If you are nodding in agreement, laughing, or maybe even crying, don't worry, we've all been there. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to connect with us at parentingwithpersonality.com or join our Parenting with Personality Facebook group. I'd love to support you there. And until next time, you've got this. Just keep calm and parent on.